of innovation is at the front of the national agenda. At the presidential level, President Obama is promoting the establishment of innovative technology clusters as a way to support regional economic growth. This direction certainly presents an opportunity for clean tech and water more specifically, and I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute. Additionally, the President has issued Executive Order 13514, Federal Leadership in Environmental, Energy, and Economic Performance. This executive order applies to all federal agencies and departments. Agencies are required to set baselines and performance targets for reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, water, and waste. Agency performance is reported to the public. New federal buildings must attain zero net energy footprints by 2030. And agencies are to pursue cost-effective, innovative strategies to minimize consumption of energy, water, and materials. Specific targets for water efficiency include reduction in potable water consumption intensity by 26% by 2020, reduce agency industrial landscaping and agricultural waste consumption, water consumption by 20% by 2020, and to identify and promote and implement water reuse strategies. Administrator Jackson believes that well-conceived, effectively implemented environmental protection is good for economic growth, and that innovation is the sweet spot where our economic and environmental interests meet. In that regard, Administrator Jackson also recognizes the substantial water research assets that are physically located in Cincinnati, Ohio. And last year, Administrator Jackson asked my laboratory to explore the potential of establishing a technology innovation cluster in the region focused on environmental technologies with an initial emphasis on water. Working with our federal partner, the Small Business Administration, and through an extensive stakeholder process, just in January of this year, in an unprecedented event, the administrators of both agencies announced the launch of the Water Technology Innovation Cluster in the Cincinnati region. The effort is bringing together researchers, entrepreneurs, investors, purchasers, and problem owners together to address these water challenges.
The success that we've enjoyed in water to date has been primarily driven from a need basis. As Nick pointed out earlier, water is mission critical to us. If you look up till about 10, 15 years ago, we were still importing a large proportion of our water supply from Malaysia. We continue to do so, but we realized that that's not a politically tenable situation in the long run, obviously, and there was an intent to become more self-sustaining, and therefore technology became our only means to achieve that level of self-sustainability. And so if you look at what Singapore has done across a multitude of industries, and water is just one example of that, the goal has been to create the idealized ecosystem for innovation and commercialization. And it stems throughout the entire value chain of innovation. You start with finding the receptacles and the partners of, for people to come in and do innovation, whether it's a combination of public and private sector R&D. So you have the combination of our NREL equivalent, our Sandia equivalents, nationally funded labs that drive technology development that act as partners for the private sector to come in. You then also have key demand drivers and receptacles, like the PUB in the case of water today, where they are a municipal water body. They are the ones who are, as Elia pointed out, they are the customers that will eventually purchase this technology. So they provide test bidding receptacles. They provide infrastructure that allow companies to do pilot testing, allow people to do evaluation and benchmarking of their technologies. And then further downstream, at a large scale level, you do have demonstration projects, a public-private partnership model, which has been very well utilized in the UK, in Europe, and in the US, where you're talking about meeting a nation's needs and therefore a need for that technology to be deployed. And then last but not least, you have the EDB and its role, which is really to help as a facilitator for companies and private sector to come in and look at Singapore as a launch pad to Asia for their technology. So it's a combination of local demand and then the opportunity to globalize for Asia, especially in an emerging market, using Singapore as that launch pad, that has really been our sort of drive behind and our ability to create and foster an environment that drives innovation.
Based on all this experience, I began to re-immerse concern regarding an issue that I define it as innovation to implementation. So it's great that there is so much interest in water. But why we see in the water, in compared to the IT, to the telecom technologies, that in the last 40 years it was really changed. There was no internet, there was no cellular phone. But if you check what's changed in the water sector on a large scale in the last 40 years, almost nothing. Andrew Benedict invented the MBR, and it's a big success, but again, the market share of the MBR is really small. There's the AMR, automatic meter reading, again, small. Trojan with the UV, great UV technology, it's not dominate the market. So you see a lot of demand for innovation. Now you see a lot of financial community interest in investing in this industry. And as a guy that was working in the last few years, many years in the water utility, I can tell you that water utility need new solutions, better solution, may I say, proven solution. So you see, we see here 3 building blocks of an industry. We have the money, we have the technology provider, we have the utilities. They are talking between themselves, but if you try to identify how many companies in the last decade make from scratch to $10 million revenue, it's nothing, but they are not such a company. And for me, you can say, wow, it's a very conservative industry. Let's choose another industry. But I think that going back to all the speakers before, that was prior to me, you cannot let the water go. That is the reason why I initiate now, with many others, a new concept that is not going to replace something, it's not going to compete with anything that exists in the market, is to create a global water technology partnership hub that will be with 4 legs. First of all, to look from the point of view of the water utilities. The water utilities, he is the customer. At the end of the day, the guy that's writing on the check of all the technologies is the water utility manager of Jerusalem, of Nazareth, of the city of Guelph, of Akron, Ohio. Those are the people that sign on the checks of the technology that you will develop, that you would like to invest in. So we create now a network of water utilities from Israel, of course, from Canada, from the US, from Italy, as a first stage that will create exchange of information between themselves. We will then approach to the technology provider and tell them we can give assistance in define the product according to the customer criteria. Then we are ready to give you the first beta site, to identify where to do the beta site. Something that, again, it's not rocket science. We did it in the last 6 years in Macarthur. Then we can create via our network international exposure. And I assume that after investor will understand the technology provider as a customer, paying customer, that he has a beta site, he has a roadmap for the sales, it's very easy to allocate the money to a specific company.
Third element is the home market. It's the most easy market to play. That's where you have your local knowledge, you have your connections. Buki mentioned already several important stakeholders in the challenge for innovation, commercialization. The end users, the one who finally use your new technologies. You have the research institutes, you have the technology providers, and that is, I think, the technology providers are finally the ones, if we look to the international market now, are the ones who are bringing the technologies abroad, globally. Only Suez and Veolia are the ones who are really going beyond their home market and earn the money in the international market. But besides that, there are a few technology companies who are that big abroad. And I think this part of commercialization, technology companies, we have learned a lot about that last year, especially during the innovation program in the Netherlands. Examples like where we have water companies for drinking water who are really driving the innovation because they have a demand. They want to apply new technologies. We did it in the past, chlorination. Drinking water now in the Netherlands is the miracle from the tap. No chlorination, leakage 3 to 5%. It's far beyond in other European countries and somewhere else. And because of their request for innovative technologies, companies like Trojan, Norwich were able to grow to this first stage of implementing from small scale, proof of principle in the lab and practice, and then proof of practice at a large scale, at a full scale level. And I think there is for Canada now water abundance, or what you're driving for innovation. How do you get these public utilities, these municipalities, in a partnership together with the knowledge side and the technology companies? But what I wanted to say is that these technology companies, these technology providers, in the end will go more and more global, and they need each other to integrate solutions. The challenge is not just one solution, whether it's membranes or UV or AMBR or whatever. We need these combinations, and to prove them, to demonstrate them, showcase them at the home market. I think that is a great opportunity for Canada, and